Alright, bro, this new update has a lot of players stressing. I'm not even gonna lie, most of this community has had mixed opinions about what got added in the most recent update, and as you can see, still to this day, I am holding on to my demonic pickaxe. Sorry, this is not the demonic pickaxe, it's called the dragon head pickaxe. Yeah, that thing is old. But as you know, with the most brand new update that we received inside of the game, we got this little fairy operator guy, where if you go ahead, talk to him, and actually offer him one coin, he basically allows you to cross over to the other side where that weird island is. Now, I gotta say, a lot of players really like the ability to be able to do things like this, going across going across an entire island using a boat. That is really cool. However, one bad problem about this is the fact it costs money to do this, and it's actually the coinites, which is not a very simple ore to get. It is a literal 1 in 15,000 chance, and the worst thing you can get it out of is a medium red crystal. But there's actually something at this island specifically that makes a lot of players very upset, and tons of mixed thoughts about this. This has actually led to most players quitting the game. The game does not have any player count that it used to have a while ago. At the time I'm recording, the game is barely over 100,000 players, and don't get me wrong, this is definitely a very big number. 100,000 players for any Roblox game is still massive. However, that is far different from what it used to be. If I go to Rolling Mons and type into the Forge, as you can see, if we scroll down here, we can look at the player count over a daily period of time, and let's go ahead and do over like 3 months. Okay, the game hasn't been out for 3 months, but let's say 1 month, right? As you can see right here on Saturday, December 13th, the game had over 500,000 players. And actually, this was a lot higher if we go all time. You can see that at some point it goes all the way to this peak, which is very insane. However, if we look at something most recent, as you can see, by every single week, the game's player count's going lower and lower over time. And this is not a coincidence. There's a lot of speculations on why this is happening. Obviously, the most recent one I think a lot of people claim is the fact that school started up once again. Although this will have an effect to a certain extent, it does not actually have a massive effect on Roblox games. I mean, if you take a look at the front page, most of these games are able to hold the player count that they always have, if not a little bit lower, but it's basically the same. Going from 500,000 players to 100,000 players is not a coincidence, and I have a lot of things to back that up. Something that a lot of players have been complaining about is this game's difficulty, right? You know, the game is not the easiest thing in the world. In comparison to other Roblox games and like simulators, bro, this game is a little bit more challenging, and it has a lot more of RNG. And you're about to see exactly what I mean by RNG if we go through this brand new maze that they recently added in the most recent updates, because they added something inside of this maze that makes this entire thing even worse. And that's if I can find the center of this maze. To be able to actually get to this, you got to be able to find the center of the maze, because there's this little NPC you can talk to, and you can purchase a bunch of stuff, let's say. Alright, I found the center. He should be somewhere here. Yup, there he is. As you can see, you got this fun guy NPC that got added in the most recent update. Now, if I go ahead and open up his shop, you will be able to see that, well, this guy has a lot of recipes that he is willing to sell. The problem with this is these recipes are amazing, right? However, there is one thing that makes it so much worse. If I unlock these recipes and I go ahead to try and forge, like let's say I just want to try and get one of them, right? I'm gonna use some of my Velchires. I have a ton of these, and we're gonna go ahead and try to get one of the brand new colossal swords, because there is a few new ones. In this update, they added this colossal gem blade, and then you also have this colossal terror blade, and there's actually a ton more in this update. With this update comes 16 recipes, and they come out in sets of 4, so you have to constantly check the merchant in order to be able to find them. And this is something that the developers have confirmed. There's literally 16 recipes. meaning to be able to get all of them, you're not only gonna have to spend tons of money, but it's gonna be very, very expensive. And some, you don't know how good they are because you can't even view it. But let's try forging one, right? I did say I want to make a colossal sword. I want to get my chances up a little bit for that. So what can I throw in that I have a lot of it? Let's just go and do some snow white, bro. I don't even know. It doesn't matter. But here we go. 65% chance to get the colossal sword. And then I have to try even harder to get one of these recipes. Some of these recipes are really basically just cosmetic, and they're not actually much better. Wait, hold up. I think I just got one first try, bro. Please. Yes. Okay. This is one of the brand new recipes. I don't know if this is the best one though, but we're gonna see. Here we go. Let's go and try to get perfect on all of this because I want to be able to see what the best version of this thing is, and I want to be able to compare it to previous stuff we have in the game. All right, boom, the sword is complete. There we go. We got a little green sword. I mean, not the coolest color, but whatever. That doesn't matter. As you can see, this thing does 289 damage per second. To unlock this recipe, I had to spend hundreds of thousands of money. And if I go ahead, take a look at this thing in my index, because I literally just got it for first time ever. As you can see, yeah, first time ever. This thing has a base damage of 23 with a cooldown of 1.12. Something like the Skull Crusher has a base damage of 24 with an attack speed of 1.4. Now, I will say the Skull Crusher is obviously the best one I've gotten, but in comparison to other swords like the Dragon Slayer, bro, this thing is so identical, bro. It literally only does one more base damage, which actually isn't like too bad. It is a little bit higher, but you won't be able to tell a major difference for the amount of money that you're gonna have to spend on it. And in comparison to a sword that I currently have, the Rapier, I believe, if I can find it, where is it at, bro? Yeah, I'm currently using this one right here, and this actually does 7.5 damage every 0.49 seconds. When you go ahead and add traits onto these things, these turn out to be almost significantly better than anything else inside of the game, and it fully outcompetes something that takes forever to swing and costs a lot to purchase. Currently, like, I don't even know which one of these is good. This Dark Knight's Gauntlet's a little interesting, but at the same time, the price is lower. So, like, is this better? You can see actually what's kind of the best inside of this new update, and luckily the one I just got is considered to be rated the best. I believe it has the highest DPS out of everything, but I believe I had to spend a lot because this is the 1 in 6, right? If I go ahead, go to the forge, you'll be able to see that this is the rarest thing I could possibly get out of the new recipes that I just unlocked. Yeah, I got the 1 out of 6, bro. Oh my god, do I wish I had a good recipe for that. But I'm pretty sure the ingredient itself costed like around 500k. I don't quite remember because it already left the shop. But the problem here is that the developers have gone ahead and added 16 brand new recipes for us to be able to get. And although these are amazing and I love it, the fact still stands that you can still craft stuff that are literally considered some of the worst weapons, such as this double battle axe. The worst thing in the game is a basic dagger, as you can see right there. To this day, you can create this inside of World 3, which is low-key a little bit astonishing because why are you able to get such junk in the best world in the game? And with the most recent update, not to complain about it or anything, because I don't think it's a necessarily bad thing. I do like the ability of having a bit of a challenge, but to fight these brand new NPCs, you do have to have a pretty decent sword. And if you don't grind this game too much and you're, just trying to check out the update, you really can't. Like, this normal skeleton takes a lot of hits, lots of crits. And keep in mind, I basically have one of the best variants of a sword that you can possibly have. I have a gargantuan with insanely overpowered perks on top of it. And the developers did obviously have a lot to say about this originally. Before the update came out, Fire Attack, the owner of the game, literally said they've basically been listening to our feedback. And overall, he talked about some things coming, such as a brand new recycle system system where you can repurpose your old items so you can recover the ores. And then he also talked about decreased RNG around forging, basically a new way to lock the forged item using blueprints. I don't really understand this part because you are going to be able to lock certain recipes, that way you never craft them. But in that scenario, why did we just get 16 more? When this update comes out, if they do it like how everybody is thinking, then you're gonna have to use a lot of blueprints to lock a lot of the things that are already in the game that got added in this most recent update. I feel like in this most recent update, with this little fungi NPC that we have over here, we got more recipes in the game than we had on release originally. But unfortunately, that's not necessarily where it all stops. In my last video, I actually went ahead and covered a topic that I think a lot of people didn't know. And I do want to say, absolutely don't send a single hate to the developers because they only have good intentions over literally everything I'm talking about in this video. They only want the best for the game, and I appreciate and respect them so much for that. But there was this one thing that I thought they added, which I personally don't necessarily agree with because I think it gives me an unfair advantage over normal players, and I don't feel good about that. If you haven't watched this video, I highly recommend you check it out. It's definitely a good one and it's worth your time. However, right now, although yes, we do have an active boost right over here at the time I'm recording with the mining perk, I am actually able to mine inside of this game a lot faster than any other player possibly can. So, for example, if I go ahead and swing at this thing, you might be able to tell it's a very hard thing to look at, but I do technically mine faster than any other player. And this is not a random thing that just started happening. With this update, they went ahead and actually gave the content creators, as a type of appreciation, basically a little permanent boost that is supposed to help us out. This boost gives us 30% luck, 15% more damage, and I believe 15% more attack speed. However, the only thing to be able to get this to work with is with this content creator tag. That is it. Any of these other tags in the game don't work. As you can see with the refinement expert, a random title, I am swinging at this speed. However, if I go ahead and change it to the content creator and I try swinging, you might be able to tell a little bit it's a bit faster. But it also does come with a luck boost, and that way I can't really necessarily show that other than just playing the game. Now, don't get me wrong, I am very happy to be able to support this game and get these perks. However, I wish the developers went ahead and actually added some sort of buff to majority of the titles in the game. I love the fact that we get these perks. However, I believe that normal players deserve this too, and it's not necessarily fair for us content creators to be at an advantage. And a lot of players in the game seeing our videos, they might grow some hatred towards us because we have more perks, and that way some things that we say is obviously not as valid enough because we don't have the same chances. And yes, I can obviously go ahead, turn off these perks. However, the problem that comes with this is now I am actually behind every single other content creator and I cannot compete in videos. So my best idea that I can actually give to the developers is just add some perks to a bunch of these ranks. Have some of them even be better than the content creators. That way us YouTubers have an incentive to grind for those better titles and actually play using them. If I go ahead and pop a miner potion as well as a luck potion, this will get to such a ridiculous point, bro. I will be able to mine so fast. Like, look at how fast I swing right here. However, if I go to an actual rock, it's gonna feel even faster, bro. Look at how fast I can shred this large red crystal, bro. And matter of fact, let's hit both of these crystals at the same time. Look at that, bro. Obviously, grinding in this little area is a bit annoying because, you know, we got those spiders to deal with. But it's ridiculous how good this thing is. And I just wish it was fair towards everyone, bro. And I did go ahead and spend like around 2 to 3 hours grinding with this, and I noticed another problem. Even with all of these perks, a problem the game faces is obviously the too grindy aspect, and that comes with the ores in the game. To this day, after grinding this update for hours, as you can see, if I go to my achievements, I have 200 hours of time played, probably more than most content creators. I've spent thousands of Robux on this game, whether it's on totems. If I go ahead and actually check my totem count, yeah, I got tons of them still. I've went ahead, spent tons of Robux in order to try and get the Archangel, which, by the way, I did not get boosted chances for this, okay? I promise you, I did that all by myself. There was no perks there. But even after all of this, I still struggle to this day to get the Stolen Heart, which is a very important recipe in this game, because that lets me complete Raven number 3 quest, where I need to bring a Stolen Heart. And to actually finish that, the reward you get for that is literally a very essential armor recipe, and it's literally the best type of leggings you can get, which, as you can see, missing recipe. It's the Raven leggings. I can't get them. My luck has literally been so bad. Not only that, bro, I still have yet to get the Heavenite. Somehow I pulled like 3 Gargantuans, no Heavenite. But yeah, I don't know how the chances work there, but bro, we need some buffs in that scenario. I do like that the developers went ahead and, you know, buffed all of the crystals health, or actually nerfed them in that sense. They are now a lot easier to destroy, so this should hopefully help players out tremendously. I think you guys will appreciate this a lot, and I love that the developers went ahead and listened to that and implemented it in the most recent update. Shout out to them. But I do still think the game needs a tad bit more balancing in order to actually eventually be able to, you know, get some of the best armor in the game by the end of the week. Because right now, it just seems like we're just chasing content that is impossible to eventually reach before the next new stuff come in. They did also actually nerf these Yetis over here, which was a silent nerf that, personally, I don't like when games do silent nerfs. I understand they have to be done, but please tell us. Yeah, if you didn't know, some players are also upset about this. I mean, if you go to enemies and look at the Yeti, this used to actually go up to 1,500, and now it's less than 400 more. Or, yeah, it gives you 400 less. I don't even know what I'm saying. And there is some great suggestions in their Discord. Like, somebody said, make detaching runes 50% of original cost. And for it to cost 800k to put on and take off, it's kind of crazy. And that's absolutely true. I have no idea why it's literally 400k to put it on my pickaxe and to literally take it off. It's so expensive. And since obviously they didn't really add better enemies inside this update that are worth grinding for money, it's a hard chase. Another great idea here, talking about how, you know, Heart of the Island dropped 3 to 4 ores, basically more ores per thing, and, you know, more reasons to want to grind a certain type of crystal than the others. There's tons of great ideas in there, and I highly recommend you put it in their Discord server, and even go ahead and put it in mine, bro. I'll try and get it to the developers. I know these guys listen more than most developers I've ever heard of, so it's really good to have their communication on the side, and I very much appreciate the devs for that. However, we need some changes to be made, bro, because from the time I started recording, the player count has gone down 2,000, and this game is way too young for this to be happening. Let me know your thoughts though on this update, and not just that, but how you feel about the current state of the game, and if you're still playing. Until then, hurry up and watch this video on the screen right here. YouTube actually thinks you're really gonna like these videos, so pick them fast, because I went ahead and handpicked one and YouTube picked the other one. But pick it fast. This video's about to end. Until then, I'll catch you in them. Bye.